Welcome to a very special GeeKlassic. This will be my review for the original 1994 Disney classic, The Lion King. This is a film that I've wanted to talk about ever since I started my YouTube channel. Hell, I've wanted to talk about it ever since before I even had a YouTube channel. And if you were to tell me a few years ago that I could be sitting anywhere in front of a camera to make a video about this film, just to talk about how special this film is, how much it means to me, I would not have believed you. What's more, if you had told me that I would be doing all that plus accompanied by fellow online movie reviewers or just people who are my friends and not even reviewers but want to talk about this film, are eager to do it, I would have believed you even less. Lion King has always been special to me. I have no memory of not knowing what The Lion King is. It has always had a special place in my heart. It's one of those films that I watch at least once a year. Every time I go back to it, I absorb it in a different way than I did before. I have seen this film over and over again in every possible way. VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, 3D, on the big screen, on the small screen, alone, with a bunch of friends, just with that one person. The Lion King is a film that is clearly very special to a lot of people and very different people, and you can see why. This is the little film that could. This was a film that was renegated by Disney. They had their B team working on it while the main team was working on Pocahontas because that was going to be their huge hit. But this film broke all sorts of expectations and records. To me, this is their best film to the day. It's the greatest animated film of all time, bar none. The second greatest animated film of all time doesn't even come close to touching the magnificence of The Lion King. Because The Lion King not only is it Shakespearean in every conceivable way, it's Hamlet with lions and other animals, it's also a film about growing up. I think that's why it's so special for many people and why I absorb it in many different ways every time I go back and watch it. So now finally to the proper review. The film was directed by Roger Allers and Robert Minkoff, and the cast is just stupid good. Matthew Broderick, Jeremy Irons, James Earl Jones, Nathan Lane, Ernie Sabella, so many people get this film right from the opening sequence, which is top 5 opening sequences of all time in film history, to the songs in general. I Just Can't Wait to Be King, Hakuna Matata, Be Prepared, The Circle of Life, the Luau song, which it counts. This film is emotional, it's heart-wrenching, it's funny as hell, and it's just inspirational. I don't think I've ever taken so many life advices from a character in a film than I do from Mufasa. Every time the film gets to a high note in terms of emotion, in terms of the laughs, in terms of the tears, Mufasa is just there to hit you right with life advices that you will take with you.
Just trying to be brave like you.
I'm only brave when I have to be. Simba, being brave doesn't mean you go looking for trouble.
But you're not scared of anything.
I was today.
You were?
Yes. I thought I might lose you.
Oh. I guess even kings get scared, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I still think he's probably the best father in any film ever. He's actually a good father, he's a great character, and he's just inspiring. The moment after Simba is chased by hyenas and Mufasa saves him and he's giving him a lecture, it actually turns into one of the sweetest moments I have ever seen in a film. Tears were in my eyes yesterday as I was watching this film. Father and son playing around and talking about them being friends and how Mufasa is going to be there to protect Simba always. My heart just sang in that scene. And of course we talk about father and son, but we gotta talk about uncles. Scar, also the greatest Disney villain ever. For many reasons, but if you think about it, Scar, for a limited time, does win. He gets his way. and he gets to be a bad king. Because in some sort of way, I think Scar never really grew up. He just wanted to take. He wanted all the good things about being a king, but he didn't want any of the responsibilities. And so he orchestrates his own brother's, Mufasa's, death. And it's still one of the greatest sequences I have seen in terms of edge of your seat nervousness. As soon as Simba roars and you hear the echo throughout the valley and you see the wildebeests coming down, running, and you see that close-up shot zooming in on Simba's face, everything about that scene is gut-wrenching. Mufasa running in, saving Simba, putting him out of the wildebeest's way, and then getting knocked out, and then going to the cliff, and Scar putting his claws into his brother and just throwing him off.
Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
It's haunting. Even afterwards, Simba goes to see his father. He thinks he's just asleep. You get the exact same shot from the beginning when Simba goes to wake up his father so he can show Simba the kingdom.
Dad? Dad, come on. You gotta get up. Dad, we gotta go home.
My God, and Simba's eyes, the way they animate this whole sequence, and I'll get to the score in a little bit. I know the score here is damn fantastic, but this scene breaks my heart every time. But it is not the scene I cry at. Everyone else cries in this exact scene. I don't cry in this scene. I get close, I get emotional, but I just don't cry in this scene. And Simba gets chased off the kingdom, he goes out into the deserts, and then enter the greatest sidekicks in film history, bar none, Timon and Pumbaa.
Look at him. He's so cute and all alone. Can we keep him?
Pumbaa, are you nuts? You're talking about a lion. Lions eat guys like us.
But he's so little.
He's gonna get bigger.
Maybe he'll be on our side.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Maybe he'll be... Hey, I've got it. What if he's on our side? You know, having a lion around might not be such a bad idea.
I love these two. There's nothing I can say about them that you will not have heard before. I love everything about them. And I love their philosophy, Hakuna Matata, which is a cool philosophy to have, but the wrong one if you want to grow up and be an adult. And that's very much what the film is about. And I'll get into it a little bit. Can we talk a little bit about the Hakuna Matata sequence? It's one of the greatest songs of all time. I know, it's super fun, it's infectious, but am I the only one who always thought these bugs looked freaking delicious? Because as a kid, I always thought, I want to eat those bugs. Not live action bugs that I have in my garden, but these bugs I would totally eat at any time of the day. I love the sequence when Timon and Pumbaa are just going after this beetle and Nala shows up. And then her and Simba start fighting, and then they recognize each other and they get all happy and Ghibli. And then Pumbaa, when Simba presents Nala to Pumbaa, Pumbaa's like, oh, it's all good. And then he bows down and says, it's a pleasure. Pumbaa is like the sweetest guy ever, man. And there's this really cool sequence when the trio, Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba are lying down on the grass and looking at the stars, and they're theorizing about what the stars are. And Pumbaa asks Timon what the stars are, and of course, he's a smartass. He believes he knows the answer, and he says that they are fireflies flying around and lighting up in certain places. And Pumbaa actually knows what they are, but he doesn't know that he knows what they are. But when Simba gives that response of what the stars are, the ancient kings looking down upon them, and Pumbaa and Timon start laughing, it's a fun sequence, but it hits you so much. It's kind of like me and my group of friends, whenever I say something emotional and deep, or at least that I think it's emotional and deep, they start laughing and don't care about it. So I understand what Simba means. I also love how pissed Timon is when Simba and Nala walk away together because he understands what's happening, and that's basically me whenever I see a friend of mine starting up a relationship. I'm like, I can see what's happening, and they don't have a clue.
They'll fall in love, and here's the bottom line. Our trio's down to 2. Oh, the sweet caress of twilight. There's magic everywhere. And with all this romantic atmosphere, disasters in the air.
And eventually by the end, he's all choking up and he's happy for his friend because Timon is a smartass, he's sarcastic, but deep down he always comes through, as we see eventually he goes after Simba. Also, during the Can You Feel the Love Tonight song, even as a kid, even the first time I watched this film, I always knew what this look meant by Nala. I always knew it. I think we all know what this look means. And it was the first time Simba ended up on top of her, so yeah, who wouldn't give him that look at the time? And now with Nala here, he doesn't want to take up the responsibilities of being king because he fears he will not live up to the task, but also he's not interested in having the responsibilities. What he was interested in by being king was ruling over everyone and anyone, doing whatever he wants, not obeying any orders. But he now understands that there are responsibilities, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to grow up. And then in comes Rafiki. Rafiki's so good, man. Rafiki is so freaking cool. And Rafiki takes Simba on this like spiritual adventure of rediscovering himself and who he's meant to be. And he finally understands he's not his father, but he is the king. He doesn't need to be his father. He needs to be his own man, his own king in his own way, and accept the responsibilities that his father had. I just love this scene in Simba's spiritual rediscovery, and Mufasa shows up in the clouds. They're changing up their shape. They're changing colors. When I was a kid, I flipped out throughout this scene. It's all kinds of awesome.
You see, he lives in you.
Simba, you have forgotten me.
No. How could I?
You have forgotten who you are, and so forgotten me. Look inside yourself, Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are. You are my son, and the one true king.
Plus its emotional impact and meaning in the story. It's just all kinds of incredible what they do in this scene. Plus Simba's look when Mufasa's trying to disappear and he eventually disappears, and Simba's once again in that place of desperation. It's so friggin' relatable. So Simba goes back, finds this very desolate land with no water, no trees, just dirt, and everything is dry, and there's no food anymore. And as Scar hits his mother, Simba has this Superman moment of jumping down at Scar after hitting his mother, and he returns. And I love the moment where both Scar and Sarabi, Simba's mother, think that he is Mufasa. Love it. Because he actually does look like Mufasa. The color on his skin, the shade on it when you have the zooming in of Simba top of the cliff before descending down. And eventually a fight starts out between Scar, his army of hyenas, and Simba and the lionesses after Scar admits that he kills Mufasa, which is just vile and evil. Oh, where have I seen this scene before? Oh, I remember. I killed Mufasa. I've always loved that scene. I've always loved impersonating him in that scene. I also love the moment when Simba is choking him and he's like, fine, fine, I've killed him.
So they can hear you.
I killed Mufasa.
And of course, all chaos erupts. Timon and Pumbaa starts going after the hyenas. So in comes Rafiki as a Mr. Miyagi type of badass, hitting them with a cane and whatnot. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire climax of the film.
Hey,
Who's the pig? Are you talking to me?
Uh-oh, they called him a pig.
Are you talking to me?
Shouldn't have done that.
Are you talking to me?
Now they're in for it.
They call me Mr. Pig!
Take that, you stupid! Take that! And that! Baby!
I'm sorry, hyenas, you just can't mess with Pumbaa. But of course, what we are waiting for is the fight between Simba and Scar. They're fighting amidst the fire. It's a really violent fight. You see the sparks going into their eyes all around you. You see them hitting each other and you just feel every blow. And a lion paw can't be nice on your face, even if you are yourself a lion. And eventually Simba defeats Scar, sends him down, and the hyenas turn on him because, of course, everyone gets their dividends. And so after this is my favorite scene of the film. It's one of my favorite scenes of all time. After the fire that was engulfing Pride Rock and the metaphorical fire that was burning down the Pride Lands and send them into ruin, calms down after the rain starts pouring and everyone comes together. Simba greets his mother, Simba greets Nala, and then Rafiki calls to him. And Simba climbs up, they hug, a moment of serenity after all the chaos. And I'm going to start crying. I'm warning you right now, I'm going to start crying. And Rafiki tells Simba it's time and he climbs up Pride Rock and Mufasa calls to him from the clouds and tells him to remember, and Simba roars. This moment of him going up is my favorite scene in the entire film, and I just love it. But as I told you in the beginning, I'm not here alone. Lion King doesn't mean a lot just to me. I know it means a lot to many of you, and I got a few friends to send me a video that tells you their story with the Lion King. And so please allow me and my friends to share with you their love for the Lion King.
Alright, my name is João, about the Lion King. So this is probably the film that I've rewatched the most in my life. I remember when I was a kid and my parents just put the soundtrack by Elton John on the radio. And I kept listening to these songs, and it really marked me in my life. I have no idea how many times I have watched this film so far. I memorized all the lines when I was a kid, my parents thought I was crazy, but I think it's because this movie is really special. I believe that the story is incredible, the voice performances are awesome, the animation is just outstanding. The soundtrack by Elton John is one of the most amazing things ever created in music. The whole entire opening with the Circle of Life is one of my favorite scenes in cinema. Probably the most iconic scene in animated history. This is only one of the few things that makes Lion King one of the best movies ever to put on Earth. So yeah, Lion King's a great movie, guys, and I hope that the remake doesn't trash it.
So the first time I watched The Lion King, I remember I was around like 5 years old. I remember just being in complete awe with what I was witnessing. I remember from the first moment the Circle of Life started playing, I knew I was in for something special. And ever since then, the film has been in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I love the film so much. The reason why I think it's so important to me is because it's one of those films that it's kind of inspirational. It kind of teaches you to believe in yourself, and it tries to pass the message that even when we're down, even when things aren't going our way, we shouldn't give up, and we shouldn't just stop being us just because something horrible happened in our lives. We shouldn't give up, and it taught us to be what we are destined to be. To fulfill our life goal, our potential, to be better, basically. And that's why I think Lion King always has been really important for me.
What does the original Lion King mean to me? Well, it was the first movie I remember wearing my VHS tape down to a point where they were just white sections. Some of them were just white. In some cases, I got lucky and it was bits of static. And I remember moving really close to the screen to watch it, even though my mum was telling me that I shouldn't be that close to the screen, I'd get square eyes. But it was well worth it because I absolutely love every single aspect of this movie. It's got a brilliant lead, one of the greatest Disney villains of all time with Scar, incredible music, such a rich and emotional heart at its core. And I just resonate with this movie like I do very few others, and I truly do believe that this version of The Lion King is not only one of the greatest animated films of all time, but it may well be one of Disney's greatest productions ever made.
Hey guys, my name is Ryan from Ride the Movie Guy. My first time seeing Lion King was when I was 9 years old, when it was first released in '94, and this was during a time when the only movies I really watched were Disney movies, probably for a lot of other kids, and this one was one I saw in theaters. And I remember those opening moments of this movie where they're having the ceremony for Simba and Rafiki's taking him up to Pride Rock, lifting him up, and all the animals are going crazy, and the music, it's just such stirring music that gave me goosebumps. It still gives me chills and goosebumps to this day. And the title comes up and it just, you knew you were in for something special. I watched many movies throughout the years, but this is one of the many that really stuck with me. And I'm glad they're making a remake of this movie because it will show future generations how special of a movie it is and to remind them of the original '94 version. And this is a movie that I always will hold dear to me, and especially show my future children whenever I have kids, because this is one that you really grow up with. But overall, it's the story that I love, it's the music that I love, it's the characters. It's a special Disney classic and one that everyone should watch and really appreciate.
The Lion King has always had an impact on me from watching the VHS a lot growing up. Like, I consider it's been my favorite anime for all time now. It's mainly because of how real and relatable it can be. I mean, it's a message based about confronting your mistakes and confronting your past, and I think we all definitely been through that at one point of our lives. And I always make sure I watch this film at least once a year from that message alone. But I think that, it's got amazing music like Circle of Life and Can't Feel the Love Tonight, great animation, memorable characters, serious emotional moments. Like, Lion King is a true anime classic for a reason. It's my favorite Disney film of all time, my favorite anime movie of all time, and all the messages and the realness of the movie is why the movie still has impact on me to this day.
Hey everybody, Alyssa here from Mainely Movies. The Lion King was the very first movie I ever saw in the theater, and despite being only 4 years old, I remember the experience. I remember sitting there with my legs sticking straight out in front of me because I was too short for them to dangle off the edge of the seat. I remember being amazed by how huge the screen was, and then the movie started with that opening sunrise, and it was just unbelievable. The Lion King constituted so many other firsts for me too. It was the first movie I saw at the drive-in, the first movie I saw more than once in the theater, the first movie I ever cried at, the first movie I saw in IMAX when it was re-released in 2002, and it was the first movie I ever loved. The Lion King's still my favorite animated movie, and it remains the single most important film for me. Not only did it define my childhood, but it shaped who I am, both as a movie lover and as a person.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Foster Reviews. I appreciate GeeKlassic what you do. We're discussing The Lion King for a short period of time. My experience with The Lion King, the first time I saw it was actually in the pre-release date of it when it was the 25th anniversary. And it came out with my mom, a friend, and their dad. It was a really good time. It had many good life lessons which helped me grow as a person. The songs are excellent. It's one of my favourite Disney films of all time, that and Big Hero 6. It's one of the best animated films. It's one of the best voice cast as James Earl Jones. And I'm looking forward to the new one as Donald Glover being Simba. I love the way the animation looks fantastic with the lions, hyenas, the monkey, all the others. They look fantastic. So Ren, thank you for me in this video. I'm Alex Foster Reviews. I did the same as Ren. Thank you, Ren, for inviting me on, and Lion King 2018, come on!
So I remember The Lion King very, very vividly. I was 11 years old. I remember the shot of the sun coming up. I remember the Lion King logo, the Circle of Life stuff. That kind of stuff is still ingrained in my memory even today. With Jeremy Irons as Scar is one of my favorite villains. And then you have like Matthew Broderick. You have, James Earl Jones, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Nathan Lane is one of my favorite characters in the movie. And it's just a movie that has great vistas, great visuals, great look to it. And it's something that I look upon as something as a masterclass in animation. And that's why it's so beautiful to watch and why it's so mesmerizing for me to kind of just watch it, because it takes effect and takes a hold. And then you got the score from Elton John and Hans Zimmer, and it's so beautiful and so telling, and that's why it stands the test of time even today.
Man, 1994's The Lion King. This was actually, this is an iconic movie from everyone's standpoint, but this actually has a special place in my own life because this was the very first movie I had ever seen in a movie theater. I didn't even know what a movie theater was. But my cousins, I vaguely remember, Timon and Pumbaa being scared of the hyenas, bobbing along to the music. And my cousin, I remember she filled me in that I was having a great time with this movie. So I think that might have been why movies now mean so much to me, why I love movies. Also, afterwards, I was wearing a popcorn bucket on my head, so that also explains a lot of what's going on here. But this movie is such a great Disney movie. It's iconic, the animation stands up, the story is great, the music, you can't deny that music. But this movie, Lion King, is probably my favorite Disney animated movie. I'm sure that everyone else, it's in their top 3, but this movie, Lion King, it's fantastic.
I want to thank each and everyone who sent me a video, wanted to be a part of this Lion King review, because again, it's just so special to me, and even more importantly, I know it's special to many other people out there. I love this film for being what it is. It's about growing up. We all want to have fun with our friends and not have a care in the world and forget about any stupid thing or bad thing we might have done in the past and just relax in the oasis eating bugs, but responsibilities catch up, and we have to grow up and live with our duties and not just our rights. That's what Simba learns in this film, and I think it's an important lesson to learn at every age, because at every different age, it will hit you a different way. I love the songs, I love the animation, I love the score by Hans Zimmer, which is just freaking epic! And I love that we have a film that is basically Shakespearean and applies to our lives as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, and maybe as an old man. I still have to find that out. I'm giving The Lion King an A+. Thank you so much once more to every one of you watching this video right now, every single one of my friends that send me one of their videos to talk about The Lion King. All their links will be in the description. Please check them out on YouTube, Twitter, their website, their letterbox, whatever link is down there. I thank you all for being a part of this, and I'll be back with many other reviews during this week, including my review for the new version of The Lion King, the live action / not so live action one. So stay beautiful, stay geeky, and don't forget to subscribe and like, because it really helps me out. I love you 3000.